What's up, weirdos? Welcome to Beautiful Alien, the home to every nerd, geek, flat out weirdos, and everyone who's felt like they live in a world where they don't belong. This is your haven, a haven for us to learn, deep dive, and discuss folklore, legends, creatures, and all things unseen. Let's get started discussing some spooky things. All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Alien. I am your host, Matea.
And I'm your co-host, Yanni.
And we are back. All right, so I hope you guys have enjoyed our episodes up until this point. We definitely have been having a time recording these, and it has been amazing. I've been enjoying sharing them with you all. How do you feel about it?
I feel pretty good. I mean, they've been very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And they've always, kind of like changed my input of how I look at things, like fairies, werewolves, stuff like that, and vampires too.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's actually something that, since we're at the tip of this episode, we're going to get into the topic in just a moment, but I wanted to talk about something that I've been interested in doing. So we have been talking about several movies and TV shows, and I know that there are some that people have watched, some that people have not, but we've been thinking about creating a private Discord or a private group for those of you who are interested in it, and being able to review those TV shows and just go back, even the ones that are older, even Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even Charmed, Supernatural, going back to the very beginning and reviewing those episodes. And maybe it won't be each and every episode, but maybe it will have a bulk, maybe it'll be 5 episodes that we'll watch up until a certain point, and then we'll give our spiel on what has happened up until that point. That way, we are able to kind of have some chats about that, because I do feel like, I don't know if there are any really great supernatural type TV shows right now. And when I say supernatural, I mean the theme, not just the show, so what do you think?
I think that would be a good focus on different kinds of shows, like The Order.
Oh yeah.
And Supernatural and Grimm too.
Grimm for sure.
Yeah, that will be a really nice touch to the podcast.
All right, yeah, so that definitely sounds good. So we will let you guys know once we have set all of that up. And for those who are interested in it, you can definitely join. And if you're not, and you enjoy our episodes that are, publicly available, that's perfectly fine as well. But I want to be able to chat. I want us to be able to talk to each other. I want to, be able to, have a more of an open community aspect to our show. So, I'm excited. So, co-host Yanni, do you want to introduce our next topic?
So, our topic for this episode is going to be the one and all favorite Skinwalkers. So, basically the Walmart version of werewolves.
Whoa, wait a minute. Not the Walmart version. That is an insult. I won't even go there. But, so, let's get into a little bit about when did you first hear about Skinwalkers? What was your first introduction?
My first introduction was this animated video on YouTube. It was someone making footage of a skinwalker walking around, and basically it was more then it was a wolf at first, and then it was something else, and his tracks I just completely disappeared. It was also this horror short video that some kid with his family is in a trunk or a bunker or something. I think they were in a cabin, but they were camping. They were sleeping outside in a tent, and they encountered a skinwalker while they were sleeping, and and when they tried to find him, they found the wolf print, and that turned more into a human, and they just completely stopped. So
And so was that real, or was that?
it was more. I think it said it was based off a true story. So
Okay, so like a reenactment.
basically,
Okay, so to be honest, I had not known anything about skinwalkers outside of like supernatural and different things like that. And my interpretation of a skinwalker is the same that is, I guess, a shapeshifter. So I guess in True Blood, what Sam was in True Blood, that in some cases, well, he's a shapeshifter, and I think that there are some differences between the two, and we even kind of talk about because we try to talk about like what some of the main differences are. So you mentioned, I'm going to bring it up, like, oh, it's the Walmart version of a werewolf. But to me, I don't actually feel that way, because when we were looking into the lore, it was very much so spiritual. It was very much so even just spirit, right? It's like a spirit, not even a spirit. There were some kind of talks about it, but it was more so like very like a spiritual experience that people were having, and then changing and everything like that. So we kind of talked about like, okay, so what it really is the difference between a werewolf and a skinwalker, especially because a lot of people say that when they see a skinwalker, it's in a wolf type of form. But I think what we discovered was the fact that in our research, they could turn into anything. And it wasn't just specific to a werewolf, whereas werewolves specifically are restricted to how they're able to transform. I mean, what they're able to transform in. And then some other circumstances, depending on what folklore you're talking about, whether there is a wolf pelt involved, whether there is no wolf skin at all involved, and they're just transforming based on controllable or non-controllable, based on different elements or whatever. But so I mean, that's the big thing for me, is the fact that they can transform into anything. What about you?
well, somewhat similar to what she said. When I found out that they can just turn into anything, I was like assuming like bears, foxes, or more like Native American animals, but just like But when I thought about it, I was thinking like they could just turn into like any kind of animal. So like a crocodile with the crocodile stuff, like and then turn into a crocodile skinwalker.
So when you say Native American animals, so I mean, what do you mean by that? Because
I mean, like those kind of like bears, wolves.
ones that have like more prominent meanings to the Native American. Okay. So I definitely agree. In the folklore of a lot of them mention the Navajo tribes, and how it definitely comes, that's something that they even don't even speak of it. Some of them don't even speak the name. They just kind of know what it is and won't even speak. And there's another tribe, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's UTE, a tribe that definitely believes in it as well. And they are actually thought to be like an evil witch that's able to shapeshift, or a shaman that has, a spiritual person who has dipped into like black magic, blood magic type of things, and they're looking to gain power for themselves. And then that is kind of what happens to them. They're turned into a skinwalker. Another thing was also someone who had it's also spiritual, but then they had to do a like horrific act, like killing a family member or something like that. And that actually brings up a memory for me. So there was actually this show, I'm trying to think about what it is. Do you remember? It's actually Native American based. It's on the CW.
What's it called?
Trickster. That's what it was called.
Oh,
Trickster.
yeah, Trickster.
If you guys haven't checked out Trickster, I mean, this is like amazing. Dope show, right? And I think that it didn't end up coming back because of some controversy or whatever, but the creators of Trickster, if you are listening to this, please revamp, please come back, please, because I'm so invested in the storyline. But That is another show that kind of talks about either shapeshifters or, different kind of things. And the cast are Native American, and I think that was another piece that was beautiful to me, being able to see that representation and being able to, step into, that, culture and everything and see that be represented. That's amazing, in my opinion. But what I was going on with that is that I do remember seeing like movies and shows that would talk about, like someone being able to transform because it's in their family and it's been in their family for like generations, right? So it's in the bloodline, but also because if their mom like gave birth to them or died during childbirth, they would be that one, that one person in that generation, or that person in the family that is able to change, because technically it's looked at as if they killed their mom because the mom passed in childbirth, which I think is like, that's kind of brutal. But they definitely talk about that. And so a lot of the lore kind of says, it has to be kind of heinous, like, not specifically intentional, but it does lead it on to be kind of intentional. But I've heard of it also being like, it's a bloodline thing. And even if it was an accident, that would also be something you would be subject to as well.
So basically, it's basically like a curse, basically. Like
Yeah.
one way of seeing it. But,
And some of the lore, it actually refers to werewolves being more of a curse than skinwalkers, and that more so being a choice, because the choice is to be, when you're a shaman or you're a witch and you make the choice to go into, dark magic and different things like that, and then you have the choice of, it's kind of like being, seeking more and more power, and then now you're able to transform into anything. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a job interview. Like one way, there's one job that won't let you go, and then there's this other job where you do have a choice, but then you try the job and then they still won't let you go.
Yeah, that's very true. Interesting comparison, but for sure, I agree.
I lost my.
Okay, so is there any particular thing that stood out to you in our Skinwalker research?
Well, no, not really. Just about this place called Skinwalker Ranch, and that was the only thing that was stood out to me, because I never really technically heard of it, and I don't really remember anyone talking about it. So.
I remember when there was like this big thing about, Skinwalker Ranch, this and that, and I actually never watched it. I was gonna watch it for this episode, but the thing that threw me was the fact that when I started watching the first episode, I think it was, and they were talking more about UFOs than what I guess I interpreted skinwalkers to be, like being a being that's here daily, like a human that kind of is able to humanize. I use that loosely, right? That then does undergo some type of spiritual process and then is able to become a skinwalker or whatever. So that really threw me, and I hadn't heard of anyone really referencing skinwalkers as UFOs. So I actually didn't complete it or didn't move forward on after that, because I was like, am I watching the same thing, or is this just are they using this terminology and it's not really what it is, So that kind of turned me, and I didn't end up finishing even the first part. So yeah.
Well, I think there was also different other kinds of tribes that had skinwalkers.
Do you remember some of the names?
No, but I think there was like 4 besides Navajo and the Ute. It's my personal opinion, but the Ute.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there was like 2 more that we talked about in the research, and I kind of forgot those names. That was basically personally what I was trying to think about.
Yeah, I do remember them mentioning other tribes as well. I just don't remember them right offhand. I also remember them talking about like characteristics, and one characteristic is the fact that it could be a human, but the human has animalistic type of eyes. Like the key thing always has been the eyes, and even in the dark, like piercing, colorful eyes. Like in the dark, the eyes would have a red glare, right?
Right. It also, like if you look saw an animal and you shone a light in its eyes and its eyes appeared red, then you would also know it's a skinwalker. So it's kind of like vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. And to me personally, I think it's interesting also because I mean, I always have kind of had this thing where, like, I don't believe in picking up, like, stray animals or anything. I believe in, like, even, I'm not gonna say believe in, but, it even, like, raises a hair to me, like, if certain animals are just around your property or, even if they're in pairs, like, that kind of always, that kind of raises an eye for me.
That if it's more than one, it's never a good sign.
Yeah. So that kind of is something that I think about. I'm not a animal rescuer type of person where I feel like, oh, if I see, like the other day, there was a hound dog in the road and, ended up sitting right in front of my car. And I was like, man, like, and it was just me for a while. And I was just like, I was going to get out and I was going to, bring it home and at least like see if we could wait until or take it to a shelter or something or whatever, just because I didn't want to leave him in traffic and him potentially get hurt. But then also for me it's like twofold, where I always have that in the back of my mind, but I also have the thought of like I don't want to do anything to introduce myself to anything that dog has that may affect pets that I know, or come home with anything. So that then puts, other pets in danger. So I seen a lady getting out of her car, and once he had got out of the road, she was, getting him to do, I guess, what she needed to do with him, and I just kind of let it go there. But I am very conscious of, animals, because I don't know if it's just cultural for us, but animals always, to me, even from a young age, have had a very big significance to me and our family, I think. So what about you? Do you feel like you feel connected to animals, or feel like you kind of think of it in that way as well, where anything could be whatever? And I think about that specifically also when it comes to witchcraft. And stay tuned, guys, because we're going to have some episodes that are going to be on witches and the history and everything, different types. So we're going to kind of start to talk about that some. But I'm always aware of that, and I know that even in the spiritual realm, that if you are constantly seeing certain kinds, a certain animal, like everywhere you go, or a certain type, like I remember I would always see a certain kind of bird, and I would always see them in pairs, and I would see them consistently. They would come in my car, and it was kind of like no matter where I would go. And so I think that even because of like witchcraft type of things, that I am always aware, not like superstitious or anything, or maybe that does come off as being like superstitious, but I feel like I am hyper aware, not to like intentionally avoid them, but just being aware, because animals are used a lot in witchcraft. And I also know that in the spiritual realm, as far as like spirits, like negative spirits, there's a such thing kind of like monitoring spirits, like where they want to know everything that's kind of going on. I got that chills just now. So Lord, just shield and protect us, Lord God, because that's one thing. When I start to talk about spirits, I know that certain things are very real things. And so I always am, you know, I just, when the vibe, there's a vibe, you feel me? So, I really do believe in that. And I believe that sometimes, without you knowing it, that monitoring spirits can also be, animals that are around you regularly. So that's also why I don't easily rehome animals. I like to get them as, just being born and then, raise them up. But that's just me. So,
Well, I there was this one time where I went to like a petting zoo. No wait, I think it was like a reptile zoo, and basically they had these little rabbits, and the rabbits they had like 2 or 3 white rabbits, and someone had shone a light on them, and their eyes like just glue red, like. And then it always confused me because I saw a rabbit with red eyes before, and I was like, oh, okay, so this must be normal because no other creature that I know of has red eyes, unless it's like a rare breed. And they was packing them up too because they were gonna ship them up somewhere else. And it was like, yeah, and and one looked at me too, so there was that.
yeah, I think so with rabbits and guinea pigs, those are, I think, like the only, animals that I don't really, when there are red eyes, I don't think too much into it, just because I know that some of them do have that. But you just never really know, to be honest with you. So another thing about Skinwalkers is the fact that on Skinwalker Ranch, like, there was a family, I think they were the Shermans, and they originally owned Skinwalker Ranch, and they would see, like, the dad, he saw like a huge, and this is in Utah, like a huge wolf, and he grabbed his gun from inside and started shooting at it, and it actually didn't do anything to the wolf, and the wolf persisted in that area until eventually going off on its own. But that was definitely something that strikes out, because wolves, like, I mean, it's not like they are just impenetrable or anything like that. You can shoot and kill a wolf, which is a reason why wolves in many areas are very much so endangered. So that stands out, the abnormal size of animals as well, especially that wolf that was extremely large, is a big thing. I mean, they've had so many other things. Like, they even mentioned that cattle would be mutilated, but there wouldn't be any blood around it, right? Like, so how crazy is that? And that kind of makes me think of like the chupacabra, and how there would just be a pierced hole, and literally all its insides would be sucked out. So but that's in Latin countries or whatever. And it could be specific to Mexico. I think that I hear that a lot, but it could be other Latin countries as well. So what do you think about that, especially with the mutilated cattle? And they even said that there would be times where they had just seen the cattle moments before, and then all of a sudden it's mutilated, and then there's no blood.
That I wonder how you could even pull that off. Like you kill something. You kill something, there's a bunch of blood and guts, and basically, it's a mess, right? And then, like, not even 17 minutes earlier or later, you go back to it, and it's like completely, like, almost like it never happened. Like, it was like in perfect shape. I think that's one of the few abilities of the Skinwalker. Like, it could just like kill it and then eat it, and then once it eat it, it could like turn into it and then mock and like trick them into thinking they're hallucinating.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways. So they were saying that be it a witch or shaman or whatever, they were saying that the Skinwalkers typically can either transform, either, like, I guess kind of like off memory or whatever they wanted to, or just by the actual skin of that animal. And so, I mean, that. So yeah, that is definitely strange. And I feel like with the Skinwalkers, the fact that they're able to just like their abilities are kind of unknown. And then one of the key things about like the investigations on Skinwalker Ranch, because once the Shermans were having so many things like things going on with, I mean, they had a lot going on and it was unexplainable. They were very swift with being like, yo, we about to hightail it out of here. So it was like Skinwalker Ranch is about 500 acres of land, including, their house. And so they end up saying like, we're going to go ahead and sell it and get out of here. And even when it comes down with people wondering like, well, why would people tell these kind of stories? Is it true? Is it not? When they sold that land, they sold it for $200,000. Now that's kind of unheard of when it comes to like 500, not 5, yeah, it's 200,000. They sold 500 acres for $200,000. So it wasn't like they were getting a great price. They end up selling it to this guy, which we nickname as Big. I can't remember his first name. You remember Daniel, or was it Daniel or no, Brandon?
I think it was like Brandon, but
Brandon Bigelow.
No, it was probably Bigelow, but we're just gonna call him Big.
Yeah, we're gonna call him Big.
Hey, but real stuff though, I bet when Terry shot that wolf, he was like, "Honey, there's a wolf in front of us. It's bigger than the average one. I shot it 3 times and it's bulletproof. We need to get out of Dodge."
I know.
And I tracked it down. Hide the kids. I tracked it down. It disappeared.
Listen, they were swift with it. They were like, listen, we are out. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Get out of here. Like, they were swift with selling it. They sold 500 acres for $200,000. And those of you don't have to be in real estate to understand that literally an acre, depending on where you are, could be easily over 200. Well, where I would say like 150, maybe 200,000 for an acre, depending on where you are. So 500 acres for 200,000. They were like literally the average house in their area was going just house without like excessive amounts of land goes for $200,000. Literally they sold it and was like, we out of here, we don't even need that.
We're not the average white family in those horror movies. We're not stupid.
Right. Whoa. No offense, white people. No offense, but we listen. It is listen.
Oh God, he transforming into a bear.
Listen, they were out of here. You know what I'm saying? The Shermans, they were like, we out of here. This is crazy. So, but I think Brandon, Mr. Big, we'll call him Big, who purchased the land. He was very much so aware of the things that were going on Skinwalker Ranch, and actually was a millionaire. Like, he had loads of dough to the point to where he was actually a person who, like, gave money to the Discovery of Science to fund their UFO research, so he's definitely into all of this stuff. And it was his real, and that was like, because of everything that was going on Skinwalker Ranch, that's why he wanted to purchase it. So while most people would think like, listen, we don't even know what's what, you know what I'm saying? Because I felt like if so much happened at a certain point, you might just give it away and be like, listen, we out of here for free. Look, just take it. We're gone. But, it's interesting that, Big actually was interested in, that land and was funding research. But the key thing also was that whenever they had expensive audio equipment, they had expensive equipment to investigate all of these things, and anytime something like that happened with the Skinwalkers or with anything, all of a sudden all of the electronics would go down. There would be times where maybe there was like an electronic like surge or something, not even just a surge, but like, let's say like lightning or something. And I use lightning lightly, but then guess what, there would be no damage to the ground, so there would be no soil that was like burned. So that's some crazy stuff. So what do you remember about that?
Well, that actually, what you just said kind of like read my entire mind about Brandon, or so trying to fit Big Boy about that stuff. And now that I think about it, when they was like keeping it quiet, they also mentioned how they was just keeping it quiet, and like when they got into an incident or something happened, they just like, don't let's get back to the public. They're probably working with the government right now, I bet.
For real. And after Big owned it, the owner after that, it was like they I think Big sold the land in about like 2016, and then after
Mm-hmm.
that, from 2016 to 2020, for 4 years the land went like nobody knew who actually owned it, and it ended up being like a realtor. And then that's when they started to film for Skinwalker Ranch. But even then they had issues with like actually being up on and having the proof and audio and video and with all of their equipment, because the equipment would go down when anytime things happen. One of the things that I wanted to think about with the wolf, I was like, wolves, Utah. Now, I'm not gonna say I know an area, but in that area, like Utah, I was just thinking, I was like, I don't know, like what wolves are there, because to be honest with me, I'm thinking like, are there even any known wolves in Utah? And my first instinct is like, no, you know what I'm saying? Because I've never, from any knowledge that I know, I don't think so. But I don't study wolves. I don't study their migration patterns or anything like that. Like, that's not what I do. So I looked it up, and it actually says there are no known established packs in Utah. So he saw a big wolf, like, and then the thing is also like, okay, if you think that, yeah, like he actively like shot at something, right? So if that being true, that being the case, that's number one, someone who owned the land. Even if that was like the least weirdest thing, the fact that you saw a wild animal and you were like, all right, I'm just gonna shoot it, you know what I'm saying? Cool. Like, what's unnatural about seeing a wolf on your property and just shooting it away to get it to go away, especially if it's huge, right?
Right, because what you gonna do about it if I do shoot you?
And then, if we try to like just make it like, oh, hey, well, that's not a key fact, that's not even something that really matters because that's really normal. What wolves are in that area? And how big do they get, right? Because if there's a wolf type that is large in that area, then it's kind of like, yeah, that's normal. Like, people see wolves come on their property all the time, and they do whatever to kind of get them to go away. There are no known wolves
In Utah. So number one, number one, it was a skinwalker. Number two, everyone else that lied about it being normal is a skinwalker too, because like
not a skinwalker, but maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they're just skeptics, like, where, I don't know.
maybe it's been happening so much to the point that everyone was experiencing it. Basically, it was like a door handle. Everyone was touching it.
For sure. And I don't know, like, when you try to like make sense of it, there are several theories, like, there are several theories that just, it's kind of like some people are just saying like, oh, because of, what was the word, like geo something when it comes to like things in that area, it's possible that they had hallucinations, right? So basically calling everybody crazy. That's insane to me. And anybody that's just so geek to call people extremely crazy very early and discredit them, I'm looking at you sideways, because how many years were they calling all these people who believed in UFOs and saying they seen this and Area 51 and all this stuff, right? Everything that people were seeing and experiencing and knowing, they called them quacks, all for the government to then come out and be like, look, this is, like, this is real. Even not even just the most recent thing, but even documents that were classified to be then declassified, confirming the existence of UFOs, right? So then now, even more so, like conferences, them having, open conversations about, hey, yeah, there are things that, are unexplainable. There are these things, right? So if you're so quick to discredit people, and don't get me wrong, like, I don't believe in really just calling anybody like a flat out liar unless 100% like that's not the truth, that is a lie, you get me? But at the same time, I kind of feel like if you're that comfortable doing it, it's like, what is your involvement, or what do you have to gain or what bothers you so much about this even potentially being true. It could be someone who's hyper paranoid and they're like, oh, like they're very thought about this existing just brings a level of chills in their body to where they just can't even cope with it, and so they attack the person that brings them the information. But we have seen time and time again, even in situations like that, where people always have something to gain. They don't want people to know, it's a cover up and all that stuff. So that's where I'm kind of coming with it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this mermaid documentary that I saw about how mermaids were existing for like a really long time, and there's still some hiding to this day. I saw that like a while back. Now, like, I don't even think it's like even available to watch anymore. Like, it's been like completely taken down off the server, like completely banned.
Right. And you know, the thing about it is, so y'all can call me a quack, y'all can call me crazy, whatever, I don't care. This is the channel, this is what this is for. Like, this is why we created Beautiful Alien. I believe in mermaids. The Bible, not even just the Bible, the book of Enoch talks about the women who when the angels were sent here to watch us, and you know, supervising, they were given like certain territories. Those angels that made, you know, got with women, the women, if people are always like, oh, I wonder what happened, you know, we know that there were children and the children were the Nephilim and all that other stuff, and we know whatever. Okay, but then people are like, what? I talk with my hands, so if you hear me clapping, that's just me like slapping my hand, because I'm so serious about it. Like, people are always like, oh, what happened to them? Those women became sirens. If you have not read the book of Enoch, read the book of Enoch. When I tell you, Enoch in his journey, in his spiritual journey, it even talks about how they were called the Watchers. And so when they got into, I'll say wed human women, you know, it goes on to kind of talk about how, you know, they asked Enoch to go on their behalf and basically like ask for forgiveness, or kind of gauge the temperature with how God felt about them, and, you know, whatever, and kind of ask for like mercy through Enoch, you know, in his communication with God. But the book of Enoch says that God says, how dare you, basically, I'm summing it up, how dare you come to me or send this person who you were sent to watch. You were sent to guard them and everything, and you have this person who, you know, though I love them and everything, come on your behalf when you are supposed to be the people that they go to, and you intercede for them and come to me about the problems that they have. And so God was literally basically like, not only were you down there doing what you did, but you didn't even have you weren't even accountable enough to come to me as a quote unquote man. You know, they say come to me as a man, or come to me as an honest person and be like, yo, I messed up, and ask for forgiveness and everything like that. So those are some of the things that's another reason why I know for a fact that mermaids definitely exist. And even when we do an episode on mermaids, I even want to talk about the show Siren, because the show Siren was so good, but it started getting so realistic to the point to where they started talking about how the government wanted to use like they knew mermaids existed, and they ended up kidnapping one, and they were doing like stem cell research on them, basically, like, so if people were like paralyzed, you know, because of something in, you know, the mermaid's genes, they could blend that with, you know, human DNA and give people the ability to then walk again. They were going to do this for war veterans and everything. And when they started to get to that point, and started to get to the point to where they were like, oh, you know, the government piece, that's when the show was canceled. And I'm telling you, Siren was booming. I mean, I don't know what the views were because I haven't Googled that piece, but I can tell you everybody that I know that's ever watched Siren was like, yo, we can't even understand why they didn't come back. And so I feel like that was definitely like, hey, y'all touching on some serious information. It's getting a little too for real. Now we gotta, you know, knock you off, you know?
Yeah, Donald Trump was being mad suspicious when Siren came out. Oh, and another thing, that kind of sucks for the women who slept with the angels to like become them, because like I mean, then again, though, they kind of should have suspected it, because how you could like see a 7'4" person with a
We don't
fucking.
even know 100%. I mean,
Well, they were. Well, we did read in the Bible that they were a lot taller than humans. So.
for sure. But look at girls and how they go crazy for basketball players. It's like the god, it's like the god complex. They know girls, like women in general, most women like a tall man because they're like, that's that domineering kind of effect. And then if you have, finances, which is kind of like the God effect in the world where you have influence, you have finances, nothing is off limits to you. You can basically do whatever. So when I say that, it's not that you are God, it's just kind of like you're looked at on a higher level, when you have that, and then your size on top of that. So it's like influence, it's so many different things. So I could imagine the women that they came down here and got with. It's like, first of all, the biggest issue that they had, and I know we're veering off of Skinwalkers, but was the fact that they wanted to become gods themselves. And so when we start talking about that, I don't want to dive too deep into that because I don't want to spoil it for future episodes, but we definitely going to dig into that. But I don't know 100% why. I always ask, like God, or think about like, why couldn't they have been forgiven, or why couldn't the women have been forgiven? Or maybe they, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have to dive into that a whole lot more. But that's another reason why I just kind of feel like the proof is out there. You know what I'm saying? For years, even just mermaids right now, cultures have been all over the world. Like there's thousands of miles in between, like mass locations, and then the lore may not be 100% right, but it's on trend enough for it to be like, hold up, these two people that are thousands of miles away, and I'm talking about lore goes back so far to where it's like they're not easily able to hop on a plane and travel like we're able to travel. You know what I'm saying? Things take time, but the lore is consistent in most places, right? There minor details are different, and even when it comes to Skinwalkers, I mean, the lore is pretty much consistent, especially when it comes to Native American. It always has been either a witch, or it's been a shaman, or like it has been like a repeated behavior. You know what I'm saying? A repeated, like, it's known very much so. So I don't know. I'm chit chatting. I could talk forever, y'all. But go ahead. So tell me your take.
Yeah, basically everything that you said. But like, hey, quick question though, what is a shaman? Because like, I keep hearing about like them always talking about like how a shaman and a skinwalker getting together, and then they have like a child that's have a shaman, have a skinwalker. That came out somewhere where I don't even remember from. So I was wondering like what a shaman was in general.
So in the lore that we're talking about, they say that the shaman became the skinwalker based on and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but my understanding of a shaman, and also it was shaman, which is a medicine man, but it's just people who are spiritual guides for other people. So in certain villages, well, we'll say families, right? And I'll put it in an aspect for us because I can't directly talk about other people, but a shaman and our family would be the spiritual leader in that family, the leader who guides, educates about things spiritual. Let's say that there's a pivotal moment in your life or a coming of age moment. They are the guide for many people. So for those great grandmothers, those great grandfathers who are very spiritual and provide knowledge and bestow knowledge upon his entire family and like extended family because of their knowledge of spirituality or knowledge of various things, and they know the practices. So I just know even from I'll take it more into the herbalism type of realm. So I took an herbalism course, and a big key thing about like our culture and many cultures outside of Western cultures is the fact that everything was passed down, right? So you had people who were medicine men and medicine women who were taught folk wise, where that is like you studied under people who were masters of a craft, masters in spirituality, masters of the divination of herbs, masters of those things, and you understudied them, and you had times where you understood what each herb does. You knew how to gather the herbs. You knew what each herb did. You had studies based on the experiences of people that needed help. So in my mind, about what a shaman is would be something similar to that, but not limited to just the divination of herbs and like things of a medicine man, but also being a spiritual leader and like a head for a leader in spirituality, and I would say. But in anything, and I would say this, is that in anything, especially, you remember when you asked me what Wicca was, and I told you that Wicca is witchcraft. And there is differences where people feel like Wicca is witchcraft of the light. But then there is witchcraft that is dark magic, that is blood magic, right? So with those, two things, it's kind of like one believes like, has a moral compass that they believe like, hey, we don't go beyond this. We don't do certain things because of whatever their guidelines are. I say that because once they have gotten outside of those, guidelines, anything spiritual, it can always be taken left. We are spiritual beings, right? So we can be spiritual beings of the light. We can be spiritual beings of the dark. And depending on what practices you pick up, depending on how you educate yourself, and then what you then deem, there's things that are societal, right? Things within your family that you think is okay, or what you ultimately think, because there might be things societal wise that you don't necessarily agree with spiritually, and you may not do it. But then there's things that are taboo spiritually that, society says is taboo that you might do. So the shamans and of the lore was basically saying like, hey, they have dabbled into an area that is then dark, and that has then taken them to a place where that is, the Skinwalker piece is what they then started, embodied, and that's who they became. So that was a long explanation. And, by no means am I a, expert on these things, but I do have an interest in them. And, over time, I'm just kind of like, I hear things, I read things, and, those are my interpretations of it. So any interpretations of what you have when it comes to like a shaman, you want to answer the question, a lot better, I would say, have at it. But, me and Parrish, we even talked about, but me and someone else, we even had a conversation about like spiritual leaders in our family, and how even, everybody like nowadays are like, hey, you take your child to church to get them Christian. You can take your child to church to get baptized. And I'm not against the church at all. I'm not against that. But also in our family, like, I believe in spiritual leaders within your family that study the word, that actively live that, and that even outside of the actual building that is the church, you can I believe that you can Christian your own children, you can baptize your own children. You can go to an elder to help you through spiritual hurdles that you have. So that in culture for us would then be similar to what a shaman is, but it is cultural for certain people. There could be specific aspects that are different. So so yeah, y'all, what do y'all think about the whole Skinwalker piece? It's kind of spooky, because even people don't want to even talk about it. But yeah, I know I tell y'all all the time, I believe in the blood of Jesus, and I believe in divine protection. And if you are someone who, and I know we talk about on episodes, we talk about like things. Oh yeah, well, hold up, let's talk about this real quick. They were talking about how, like, oh, how do you, like, not kill a skinwalker, but kind of get it to leave you alone or get it to go away. One thing was a bullets, like, coated with white ash, and that comes that ash again because, you know, we talked about mountain ash, we talked about what was that, or wolf's bane, we talked about things like that. There was also shooting them with a bow and arrow of some type of specific wood, of, excuse me, some a specific tree. So
Yeah, it was like that tree that was a mountain in the same place in the mountain with the mountain ash.
I can't remember 100%, but it definitely was like, you know, having a like your arrow being made of that. But I know we talk about those things, right? And I know I always ask y'all, you know, hypothetically, like, what things would you be stocking up on if you're in the areas that, you know, this talks about? But I reiterate again, you know, I believe in the blood of Jesus, right? You don't have to be a religious person, because, to be honest, Jesus was not a religious person. He did not like religion. That is a reason why he talked to the Pharisees the way that they were, because they were more about religion than relationship, than about, they were, you know, even he mentioned about praying openly to be heard, and, you know, like, oh, you know, your prayers sound beautiful, right? You know, it's so elaborate, you know, these people are educated, so all the words to, you know, define all these things, right? But where's your heart? You know, and I say that because I also pray for assignment of archangels to surround my children, my husband, me, and I plead the blood of Jesus. Even, you know, when it comes to my house, praying in the area, if I feel certain things, you know, I think that is a key piece. So even though we talk about these things, I'm not sure, you guys don't have to be Christians to listen, but the thing at the same time is, or don't have to have a personal relationship with Jesus, but if you are someone and you've experienced supernatural things, because like we say, and I tell y'all here, like, I do believe in these things. I do believe that people are experiencing supernatural experiences, and if you are someone who, like, gets spooked out, or you have experiences, a relationship with Jesus will do anything. I've had spiritual experiences since I was a child. I've had extremely detailed and lucid dreams. I've woke up with bruises on my body from that then dream. And I tell you that in any situation I've ever been in, there's never been a time where I've called on the name of Jesus, even if I couldn't speak it out of my lips, but just thinking Jesus, that I wasn't saved. And I say this because I'm someone, and we'll get into this in the witchcraft episodes, because it'll be more than one. I'm also someone who, in my younger years, before even, like, I talked in my, I want to say early mid 20s, where there's this boom of crystals, it's boom of new age, boom of, you know, like a higher level of self, opening your third eye. It was kind of like the boom of that into public knowledge, I want to say. And it's kind of like, hey, you can help yourself this way. And so I'm someone who at that time was looking for a way. They sounded, I grew up in church, they sounded like, you know, Bible scriptures, law of attraction, sound like scriptures, sound like all the things that God's promises are. But the thing is what is considered the source, right? So when we go into the witchcraft episode, I'll talk about, you know, having crystals. I'll talk about sage. I've never really been super big in sage, but even when I was starting to, like, consider it, like, that was a big thing. So many, you know, just other things. So I think that even in that, nothing was able to bring me peace. Nothing was able to save me other than the blood of Jesus. And I thank God for, even in the moments where I was, like, feeling like, oh, okay, this is of the earth, this is this, so this can't be opposing to God, this can't And if you're in that stage, there's no judgment here, but I'm just telling you from my experience and experiencing things, even well before I was even into any of that, the only thing that's ever saved me was Jesus. So
Jesus is real.
So I'm not here to preach to y'all, but I'm also gonna just tell y'all the truth. So
I also went skating with Jesus the other day. Take that, atheist.
Yeah, but y'all, so and I say that because there are times where if it's something like a spirit, well, I'll hesitate talking about it, and I'll think about, do we really want to do a deep dive on that? And not even just deep dive, but do we just want to do the research and bring it to people and talk about it? Because I do believe in spirits, you know what I'm saying? But I believe in Jesus that much more. And so when we talk about this is also like things that we're genuinely interested in, and it's cool, but always got to bring that aspect, because if you're in these areas or you get kind of shook up by something, I think it's important to know how that you can be divinely protected, and you can walk in full authority. So
well, this is a really nice episode of Beautiful Alien. I'll be honest with you.
I agree. So let me know, are we leaving anything out about Skinwalkers? I know we veered off into a couple different areas.
But there was I don't think we left anything.
Yeah. And I'm being truthful, with the Skinwalker being like quote unquote UFOs, just seems like I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, catch you on the next one.
Good luck, Shermans.
Look, they out of there. They like, what? Oh wait, hold on, we didn't talk about the fact that people that even have been in that place or like experienced it, they felt like they took stuff home with them. Like, it wasn't even just like, oh, once you left the ranch, like that things were over. I mean, it wasn't crazy. I don't think there were like crazy experiences, but they definitely felt like, whatever that experience followed them in whatever shape or form.
It was more like I'm still here. I'm gonna haunt you now. It was like you. It's like I don't know. Oh man, lost my train of thought again. It'll come back to me.
All right. Well, look, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Beautiful Alien. I appreciate each and every one of you that listen and follow this episode. Or follow our channel, podcast, everything. So, yeah.
Touch grass, drink water, hug your mom, tell your dad you appreciate him, kiss Jesus on the cheek, stuff like that. All right, go ahead. Adios.
All that. That is it, ghouls and goblins. We have reached the end of another Beautiful Alien episode. I'd like to say bye, but I know you're coming back, so I'll see you later. Until next time.